Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, dzień dobry, buongiorno, buonasera, dzień dobry, dobry wieczór, I kaktiala, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Jay Slater case. I want to dip into the Rocky Stephen Fortis Rockass court case thing and issue a word of warning about that. And then I want to dip into what I've seen and what has disturbed me greatly on Gobshite's channel today. First of all, let's deal with the whole Rocky thing. It was only a day or two ago when, thanks to Scoobs over in TikTok, that's how I heard about it, that we found out that it looks like in May of this year, Stephen Rockass had to go to court, Wood Green, Crown Court in London, and the charge looked like the letters SA, and it did stress that in such cases the anonymity of the alleged victim is of paramount importance. And so let me just start off with a word of warning here. All of you commenting out there, please be very, very careful what you say and how you say it. I'm not the best at this. You know how I do this. I often just start a video. There's never a script. It's all free flow. It's whatever few notes I might have, but it's basically what's in my head I say. But in these situations, you do have to be very, very careful. And I will explain what I think is going on here. Because it is a delicate matter, because it is an SA case, from what we can see, um, it would appear that there are some added elements that all of us must be very concerned about and very careful with. Because, again, this is pointed out by Scoobs. If you can find Scoobs on TikTok, she's got a video that explains it very well. 11th of August of this year, I believe. So that's not very very far into the future, next month, there's another hearing, and it's called the FCMH, the Further Case Management Hearing. And these are fairly rare events, from what I understand. A further case management hearing is when the two sides, the barristers, judge will get together and they discuss how the case is going to be handled at trial. And I say it's a rare event because it implies that the alleged victim um, requires anonymity, and that anonymity means forever. Let's just put it like this: it's a very delicate case. It often, but not necessarily, implies uh, a minor, possibly. I mean, possibly someone with a vulnerability, someone that could be cased as vulnerable. It could be someone that's disabled. Just understand that the FCMH, the Further Case Management Hearing, is a discussion that happens with those involved in the trial to plan how that will all be handled. For example, if the alleged victim is going to be anonymous, how does testimony from that person happen? How are the mechanics of such a delicate situation going to be handled? This kind of stuff has to be agreed upon, obviously, before day one of a trial. You can't have one side saying, well, I didn't know we weren't supposed to do da 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 da. So that's what it seems to me is happening 11th of August. But it also does seem that the actual trial is going to be in 2 years' time. And I was gobsmacked because I didn't think a case as serious as this could possibly be put on hold for 2 years. But a lot of people are telling me that is now normal in the UK. This 2 year gap is to be expected. So, yeah, I'm dealing with that as best I can. I don't understand how a nation can devolve in its justice system to the point where some obviously very serious case, if it's in the Crown Court, and we're talking about this possibly, vulnerable alleged victim, and this has to wait for 2 years. I don't get it, but there we go. But the word of warning is because, from what I've seen, the anonymity aspect of this alleged victim is paramount. No one, especially if you're a UK resident, no one should be out there even dreaming of trying to dig into finding out who this alleged victim could possibly be. That, I mean, is an enormous no-no. Later in this video, we'll go into another enormous no-no when we're talking about Gobshite's latest post. But enormous no-no, as far as I understand it, in this legal situation, is to even hint at a possible connection to this alleged victim. So, I mean, I know my audience is very wise about these things, but you also know that the AG would absolutely dearly love for one of our community to make some kind of faux pas, a false step, and do something like that. So please, in all the comments, be very, very careful. Restrict yourself to what you're saying. And I do think that any speculation at all on anything connected with the alleged victim should be should be ignored, let go. We shouldn't go down that path. But I'll say it one more time. This 11th of August FCMH further case management hearing is an indication, from what I understand, that this case is not. I mean, I know all cases are unique. I know that, but this case does seem particularly fragile in what can be said, presented, and what have you. On the other hand, something that I did come across, and again, this is just background information, if you like, is that often in these further case management hearings, another topic for discussion is to what extent social media posts and social media comments, phone records, and all that, to what extent that can be presented in court. Now, on that front, I would just say, your initial gut reaction is that's good because ultimately one thing we're looking for in this Stephen Fortis Rockass trial, if it eventually happens, is that something in connection with what happened in Tenerife will pop up. And, it may do, it may not. But I think it's fair to say that the more one analyzes what is in the social media records of someone like Stephen Rockass, the more that's analyzed, the more likely something would be discovered that brings us back to what happened in Tenerife. We'll see what happens. But anyway, yeah, the word of warning is Stephen Fortis Rockass case. Tread carefully with what you say. It does seem to be a delicate kind of case. It does seem to be darn serious for it to have reached this stage. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But it could be a long wait before we get anything concrete, of course. Now, the other aspect I wanted to talk about today was a jaw-droppingly, disgustingly vile post that was put out there. I mean, not surprisingly, I guess, from one gobshite from Glasgow. Um, if you haven't seen it, then I put it on my channel. I would imagine Jan is just totally gobsmacked and disgusted by it. But let me just give you a little bit of background here. We're going to talk about racism, and rather sarcastically, one of Gobshite's comments today was something along the lines of, "Oh, here we go. We're going to have a lecture on racism from Smith." Yeah, yeah. I think I am a bit of an authority on this Gobshite, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. For just about nearly all of my adult working life, Gobshite, I have lived in, nomadic soul that I have, been based in parts of the world where, as a white English speaker, I have been in a very, very small minority. Whether we're talking about Mexico, whether we're talking about Oman, whether we're talking about Bahamas, wherever I've been, I have been in a very small minority myself. I do think I have some insights into what is pretty darn clear racism, and I have some good insights what I think isn't. In fact, I'm one of those that often defends a person for saying something where I say, no, I don't think that person is, focusing on the race of another person, or they're not commenting negatively based on skin color. I will often say, I think you've misinterpreted that. It's very easy to jump on this race bandwagon. I'm very, very alert to people that seem to be playing a race card, but I'm also very sensitive to those that say that is something you shouldn't say in this society. What I'm winding up to say here is the whole connection between gorillas, monkeys, and people of color, black people in particular, is taboo. It's massive. It's up there with using the N word. And I'm absolutely stunned, though I shouldn't be, that Gobshite doesn't get that, has never heard of it, and doesn't recognize it as something you just don't do. Now, in our teacher training before I started working in the Bahamas, I've heard it from other places, but it was presented in our teacher training there that of the many things you don't say or mention in a class, and of the many things you don't basically do in society in somewhere like the Bahamas, which is 85% black, you don't ever correlate, you don't ever associate monkeys, apes, gorillas with black people in any sense. So phrases like monkeying around, you don't say that. It's taken very, very badly. So if I'm coaching soccer, and most of these kids are obviously black Caribbean kids, you even if you slip up, you've made a bad mistake. Stop that monkeying around. You can't say it. Is like saying the N word. Even actually, it's worse than that, because when you think about it, the N word, the one that ends in er, is you just don't say it. But among themselves, many black communities do use the N word. They just change the ending to a, and they, in their own little groups, will use it, and it appears in many rap songs and what have you. So I would say the whole monkey thing is actually one step beyond that. Now, recently, when Jan was talking about this, and we were talking about football, Jan referred to years in the past when in the UK it was fairly common for when a black footballer was in possession of the ball that sections of the crowd would start doing monkey noises. And, that was, for a while, sad to say, that was kind of the norm. You expected it. It was a terrible thing. Because when you focus on someone's immutable characteristics, I do find it the ultimate disgraceful thing to say or do. Immutable characteristics you can't change. You can't change your skin color. There are very few things you can't change. Skin color is one of them. And then, to point out that this person in some way should be derided, or they're in some way inferior because of something they can't change about themselves. Ginger-haired people have the same thing. Born a ginge, you're a ginge. What can you do? If you're insulted for being a ginge, yeah, it's pretty bad. That person can't change that. That's how they are. Other things you can change, and therefore it's not quite an insult, I find. But immutable characteristics, right. And Jan, of course, was right. Now, I actually am very adversarial to Jan on matters like this. Our politics are completely different. And I think I pointed out to her, or I was going to point out to her, I said, yeah, but that doesn't happen these days. It is so rare in Britain these days that you hear that. I think we've got over that. There might be small pockets of it. You can never get rid of, the mindless um, football yob, if you like. So it might happen. But it also happens the other way. Players like Vinicius are always complaining about racially abused, and you think, okay, well, some of it might be, but some of it might be you're just objecting to someone that doesn't like you. It's a fraught subject. My point here is people like me that have been immersed in this all my adult working life can spot straight away when someone else hasn't got it. And in Janie's post today, which is all referencing Jan. So there's no confusion here. When you look at that post, it's all about Jan. And when you've got that picture of the monkey, but it's, apparently kind of semi-human with a black woman kind of hairdo or look, that is the lowest of the low. Now, in fact, I don't know how Jan is going to react, what she wants to do, but in this day and age, if that post and that message was reported to the YouTube legal team as clearly violating racial norms, and as far as the laws of the country, I'm guessing hate laws cover all that, of course they do, then I think we all know that Gobshite would be on very, very thin ice. It doesn't matter the reason why she's justifying it. It is there. It is clear who it's targeting, and it is racism, pure and simple. That's it. If you do have a look on Janie's channel, you'll see that her defense is the most bizarre defense you could possibly imagine. What it seems to me is that Janie's defense is she's saying, yours truly here has said equally bad things or worse things. And I guess the inference is if I've said things that are that bad, then it's perfectly okay for Janie to say the same thing. It's like saying that person is morally low. So I can also be morally low, and that makes me a good person. It makes it fine. But it doesn't. It's like that odd scenario where you've been caught speeding, and you say, but that person over there was speeding. It doesn't change the fact you were breaking the law. So I have always, this is the interesting point, I have always been happy to explain in a live, in a debate, whatever it is, why I have said something. I have never had a problem with that. And every single one of the accident group, or anyone, any of you out there that wants to join me on a live, you'd have to organize the live because technologically I can't do it. And I am happy to talk about any subject whatsoever, anything. If I think I've got something to say, I'm happy to talk about it. I just need you to tell me, click on here, this is how the live starts, we talk about this. I'm fine with it. I have been begging, absolutely begging anyone from the accident group not only to talk to me about anything I've said they don't like, I've even said, if you can't stomach talking to me, I'm happy just for you to talk, give me your opinion, give me your justifications. You do all the talking. I won't say a word. All we do is hear you. The recording ends, and we put it out there for everyone to hear. So all of this argument, well, who would want to debate you? That's fine. Don't debate me. But all of these accident group people that say the most outrageous things, the funny thing is, when you ask them to put their face and their voice on camera, technologically speaking, if I can do it, you can do it. You press start, you record yourself, you press end, you post it, it's out there. It just astounds me that none of them can do it. All they can do, and this is Janie, all they can do is type, is write things and post things. They can't engage in conversation to ascertain why this happened, the context of this, a larger conversation about the whole issue. Why is it that they refuse to do that? They are keyboard warriors extraordinaire, but that's all they are. They can't step beyond that to actually have an exchange of ideas. This would be the perfect moment for Gobshite from Glasgow to do it. Why can't she just make a mini video of her explaining why she thinks what she posted is entirely appropriate? Why can't she do a mini video saying everything I've ever said is disgusting to the same degree or worse? Why not? You see, it is Gobshite from Glasgow that went into court against Matt Burlow up in Glasgow. So we know she actually likes the experience of projecting, holding forth her own voice being put out there, her arguments being selected and heard. She loves that. I mean, even though she lost 4-0 to Matt Burlow, she had 4 claims against him. All 4 claims were rejected. And funnily enough, one of them was a racist claim. And the Scottish Tribunal said, no, no, Gobshite, what you're saying there is not valid. So she does have a track history of this. And I might have got her biography wrong, but from what I see, the first 25 years or so of her life were spent in Sunderland. It's not exactly, if we go back 25 years or so, it's not exactly the multicultural hub of the planet, Sunderland, is it? And then she moved to Glasgow. Not exactly the multicultural, multiracial hub of the planet, is it? So what I'm saying is it could well be that someone like Gobshite has absolutely zero experience of how to engage with people, how to engage on an everyday level. She hasn't lived or existed or had to mingle and cooperate and work together with people of different cultures, skin colors, and backgrounds. She hasn't. But that doesn't excuse the fact that she can't see what is the most absolute taboo thing to do in relation to people of color. She should know that. I'm just stunned, absolutely stunned that that is still up there. She's still proud of it. She won't take it down. Have a look at it. and be prepared to say, oh my God. Drumchapel, 2026. Someone who claims to be educated has put that out there, and their justification for it is yours truly, apparently, has done worse. It is a head scratcher, to say the least. But it does tell us exactly where the hypocritical mind of the accident group is. I won't go through it again, but we've had Cazalis saying, grieving mother, grieving mother, grieving mother, we must protect the grieving mother, we must respect the grieving mother. The grieving mother is the holy sanctity of, our whole belief system. And yet, 5 minutes later, one genuinely very hurt grieving mother, poor Shaz, is on a live, and Kaz, well, I won't go through it again. You know what she says. It just tells us that they don't have any morals. They don't have any firm beliefs that they adhere to. They just like to throw out shite whenever they think it's going to have a comic effect or a very insulting, hurtful effect. That's it. That's what I see from HQ, Hypocrisy Central HQ of the AG. Well, Gobshite really did it today. As I say, have a look at it before it goes. Have a look at my community post. But yeah, and Melissa Rainbow absolutely defending her. Melissa Rainbow saying this post directed at Jan. There's no doubt about it. Pointing to Jan. It's got the monkey face there. And Melissa and Janie say this is funny as hell. Let's leave it there. Hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time.